As we enter into these last seasons of the year and the beginning of fall strikes, the leaves begin to change, the autumn breeze blowing against your skin. Halloween will make way for Thanksgiving and then on to Christmas. But through those holidays, don't lose sight of what's truly going on. Although life may seem great for you now, someone somewhere is suffering. This year will be the year that many lives will change, some for the good, while some for the worse. Remember first that family is truly important. But I also want you to remember that as the leaves change and the trees become those beautiful colors, creating a beautiful scenery on earth, remember that it's just a smokescreen, because beneath the beauty of earth is a world that's in turmoil. As we begin to close this year out, I want you to remember the word empathy, being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. The truth is, you never know when you might be next, when you might be in that situation. And when that day comes, how will you react? May 16th, 2021. The world would make way for Ellie Lorenzo. She would be born to parents Ellie Lorenzo and Crystal Obi. The place they called home was the Bay Area of California. When Ellie entered this world, life was set to be great. Her mother was a doctor, and her father was still in school, but he was also a paralegal. With these careers, they could provide a great life for Ellie, as well as stability. But for Ellie's parents, things just wouldn't work out that way. By the time Ellie was born, her parents had already made the decision to separate because things were going south. Although they had made the decision to separate, they had a newborn, so they decided to remain under the same roof, at least for the time being, while moving situations were being prepped. The first 5 months of Ellie's life were tumultuous. The parents were into it. The father would often disappear for days, and he was also on a number of drugs, including Adderall. Jared's behavior would begin to become erratic. He would become irrational. He would often lash out at both Crystal and Ellie in temper tantrums. So by the time that Ellie was 5 months old, her mother would begin to petition the courts for full custody. Needless to say, like any custodial battle, things got bad. They would often pull up dirt on each other. The father was accusing the mother of being a bad mother, while the mother was accusing the father of being a bad father. But in the end, the courts would side with Crystal, and she would be rewarded with full custody of Ellie. During this custody battle, the mother wasn't trying to take away all privileges from the father. She filed a petition to have supervised visits, but in the end, that wasn't granted. He was allowed his time with his daughter, while her mother was allowed time raising her. The next couple of years would be no different. By January of 2022, a hair follicle test was requested on Jared. It isn't clear at this point on whether or not he passed the test or he failed it. But one thing is for certain, he still had his parental rights. The year of 2022 would come and go. And then 2023. The year of 2023 was no different than the prior years. The courts got involved during this parental dispute, and it was basically deja vu, on and off again, blaming one another. By the year of 2024, things were okay. Ellie and her mother were living in Mountain View, California, while her father had resided in Fremont. Now, I mentioned earlier that in the beginning of the relationship, in the beginning of Ellie's life, they were still under the same roof, but that wasn't the case now. He had long since moved out. At this point in her life, Ellie is now 3 years old, and she's attending Mountain View Preschool. and she enjoyed it very much. Her teachers describe her as a bundle of joy, someone who brought smiles to the faces of her classmates. She enjoyed singing, dancing, doing artwork. She's also described as very intelligent for her age. At just the young age of 3, she had managed to capture the hearts of everyone around her. July 11th, 2024. On this day, Ellie Lorenzo will come to pick Ellie up from her Mountain View home, where he would normally drive her to Fremont to his apartment, and they would spend time together. This was no different than any other time he had picked her up. Only this time, there was a difference. Like normal, her mother had packed her weekend bag and got her prepared to go with her father. She hugged her, kissed her, and said goodbye. But little did she know that that would be the last time she ever saw her daughter. July 12th, 2024. Approximately 11 a.m. San Francisco Police Department would be dispatched to a barber shop, at least near a barber shop. The location was near O'Farrell Street in San Francisco. When they arrived on the scene, they would find the body of an older male. As the scene was being processed, the onlookers were questioned, and they would merely tell the authorities that they saw a man fall to their death. They would then analyze the scene and process it, bag and tag anything they thought was good for evidence, and continue on with the investigation. Hours into the investigation, they would come to find that the injury was self-inflicted. The body found on that day would be positively identified as 42-year-old Ellie Lorenzo. After realizing that Jared had ended his own life, they would begin to contact his next of kin. One of the names on that list was Crystal Obi, the mother of Ellie. Once she was contacted, she immediately became frantic, because at that time, he was supposed to be watching Ellie. This was his time with her. But now Jared was deceased, and Ellie was nowhere to be found. The mother would then report 3-year-old Ellie missing. The authorities would post on social media. However, an Amber Alert was never issued.
A call for help tonight from the Fremont Police Department as they search for a 3-year-old girl after her father is found dead. And tonight there is an urgent statewide search that is underway for 3-year-old Ellie. Hello again, everyone. I'm Alex Savage.
And I'm Christina Rendon. Let's get right to that developing news as Fremont police say they are searching for 3-year-old Ellie Lorenzo tonight. She was last seen with her father at his apartment in Fremont. However, her mother called police this afternoon asking for them to check on the residence after learning Ellie's father was found dead in San Francisco today. When Fremont officers arrived at the apartment, Ellie was not there. There is now an all-out search across the Bay Area for this young girl, and within the last hour, we just heard from Fremont police.
Since then, the Fremont Police Department has pursued several leads, including contacting all friends and family members in the father's phone. We've done numerous welfare checks both in the Bay Area and in Southern California. We have attempted to follow the father of the child on cameras throughout the Bay Area, attempting to find his location throughout the day, and also with cell phone technology, the same thing, trying to follow his location throughout the day.
Ellie, I love you so much. Please know that we're looking for you and we're gonna find you.
Word would begin to spread about the missing 3-year-old. However, as far as tips, there were none coming in that could lead to her whereabouts. By this time, Ellie's mother is extremely frantic. She's searching for her daughter, searching high and low, along with the authorities. The daylight of July 12th of 2024 would slowly begin to fade into the evening hours, and it would make way for the night. But sadly, when the stars began to shine bright in the sky, Ellie was still nowhere to be found. The only sighting of her at this point was the sea of missing posters that had spread throughout social media. However, by the next morning of Saturday, July 13th of 2024, the family would have the answers they were searching for. However, it wasn't what they were hoping for. July 13th, 2024, the early morning hours of Saturday, employees at a recycling facility are doing their daily duties, processing trash. But while going through it, they would come across a bag that was odd. And inside of the bag, they would find the body of a young girl. After making this discovery, they would immediately contact 911, where they would come in to process the scene. They would do their detective work and then ship the body off to the coroner's office for further examination. An autopsy on the body would confirm that the victim suffered craniocerebral injuries, in layman's terms, blunt force trauma. Sadly, the victim would be positively identified as 3-year-old Ellie Lorenzo. The authorities are now tasked with solving a homicide. This is no longer a missing persons case. The authorities would turn to the media and call off the search for Ellie and let the people know that she had been found in a heartbreaking way. They were then questioned on whether or not they had any suspects in the case. They said they had a person of interest, but they wouldn't give that person immediately.
Police are trying to piece together the mysterious events that led to the death of a Fremont father and the death of a 3-year-old toddler whose body was found in a San Jose recycling facility.
Ellie Lorenzo, the missing 3-year-old daughter of a Fremont man, Jared Lorenzo, who was found dead in San Francisco on Friday, was herself found in this San Jose recycling facility on Saturday.
Our homicide detectives are investigating it. We don't really have a motive. The circumstances are still trying to be figured out and investigated. We believe we have an idea of what may have occurred. However, until we can have conclusive evidence, we'd be in the wrong, and it wouldn't be right for Ellie, and it wouldn't be right for Ellie's family for us to try to make that determination. We do have a person of interest that we believe this is an isolated incident.
For the family, only precious, sweet memories survive her. She easily made friends and spread so much joy everywhere she went. She will be remembered for her smart and curious mind, her big smile, and her warm, loving heart.
Needless to say, in this case, the suspect was her father, Jared Lorenzo. It seemed that he had taken her life and then ended his own. With no one here to testify about exactly what happened, the authorities only know that sometime between 6 p.m. on July 11th and 6 a.m. of July 12th, Ellie was taken by the hands of her own father. After committing this heinous act, he then put her body inside of a bag and threw it inside of a dumpster. Afterwards, a garbage truck then came along and emptied it into its back dumpster, where the body was then transported to the recycling facility, in which afterwards the employees would make the discovery. At this point, people were wondering whether or not he had one of his episodes and lashed out at her for something she may have done. But after analyzing this case further, a motive became clear. Approximately 3 days before Ellie was picked up by her father, the courts had just made a ruling that Ellie's mother could take Ellie and move out of the Bay Area. The mother was situated and prepared to move miles away, many miles away, to Texas. But on that evening, when Jared picked his daughter up, he knew that would be the last time he ever saw his daughter. Knowing that his daughter was about to be packed up and moved away, he then decided to act. And in the end, Ellie Lorenzo ended up losing her life.
A South Bay family is remembering a little girl who they say spread joy everywhere she went. The death of 3-year-old Ellie Lorenzo was confirmed by her family, who shared this message. "We are heartbroken at the loss of our dear, sweet Ellie. She was the most charming, funny, smart, friendly little girl. We wanted to extend our thanks to the community at large in their support through the search for Ellie."
some new details today in the case that involves 3-year-old Ellie Lorenzo. Her body was found in a San Jose dumpster.
Documents show that Obi claimed Lorenzo was mentally ill. Initially, the court agreed, granting sole custody to Obi and supervised visits only between Ellie and her dad. But after forcing him to undergo random drug testing, psychological evaluation, and weekly therapy sessions, the court gave Lorenzo a new visitation schedule with unsupervised visits.
Actually, one of the nightmares of my business. We all worry about this kind of thing happening. We all try and do our best to prevent this kind of thing from happening.
David Patton is a family law attorney who has been practicing for more than 30 years.
It sounds like Mom did a good job of doing everything she could to convince the court that there was a problem. And unfortunately, the courts have to balance between dad's rights and mom's rights in this kind of situation. So mom, and sometimes it's dad, will say that the other person is a danger. And also, unfortunately, sometimes people that are going through custody battles for various reasons say that, even if it's not true. And unfortunately, once in a while, the courts get it wrong, and there's a tragedy like this, and it's very, very sad.
This is sad and tragic in so many ways. But to add insult to injury, there were red flags all over this case. The many times they went to court, the times that the mother petitions the court, and in the end, he still had his parental rights. And the truth is that after going over court dockets, he should have never had parental rights to begin with. And even if he did, they most definitely should have been supervised. Ellie's mother spent the 3 years of her life fighting her father for full custody. During those times, he was acting out and lashing out. But this time, he was allowed to act out one more time. And it cost Ellie everything, as well as her mother. 3 years old, someone who hadn't even begun to live yet, hadn't even developed fully as a person, someone who was just entering the world and beginning to become who they were. And now her family and loved ones are forced to remember her infectious smile or her sweet laughter instead of seeing her grow up. And I have no words for that. Rest in peace, Ellie Lorenzo. Thank you for being a light for others.